Kia ora e te whānau nā kaimahi kōrerewai, ko Oli Tokuingoa. Welcome back team to the Wintec Plumbing Workshop for another look at tools and techniques in our workshop environment. Today we're going to be looking at solvent glue joining on pressure pipe or PVC pipe. But first we're going to have a brief conversation about safety equipment. We need to make sure we have full length cotton overalls. We also need to make sure we have non-slip work safe boots on before we enter the workshop area, and of course our eyes have to be covered. And the last piece of protective equipment we need to use today is rubber gloves. And the reason we use rubber gloves on our hands is the solvents we're using today are known carcinogens, meaning they can cause cancer over long-term exposure. So we provide a barrier to our hands with rubber gloves. Okay team, the key tool we're going to be using today is a plastic pipe cutter, or a ratchet pipe cutter in this case. Now all we have to do to cut it is we walk the blade down till it engages on the pipe, and at this time we twist the pipe and follow through with the cut like that. Now I'll cut one more time and just talk about why we do that. If I was just to keep on cutting like this and just ratchet in like that, you're going to see the pipe starting to compress there, and on an old or damaged pipe we could cause that to crack. Another tool we could use is just a normal plastic pipe shear, which would do the same job. And a third tool we could use would be a saw or a hacksaw. Now the downside to that would be is we'd be able to cut it with this, but once we'd finished we'd have a big job of filing or rasping those edges before we could join it together. So my preference is definitely use a ratchet style plastic pipe cutter like this. Okay, so in order to glue the PVC pipe together, it's a two-part process. The first part is we use the cleaner or primer, and this removes any dirt or rubbish on the pipes before we join it and prepares the plastic to be bonded with the solvent glue. The second part of the process is the UPVC or hot glue. Now this is what we apply to both the pipe and fitting and then push into place to join it together. Both these products have a very, very strong smell, and when you're using them you have to use them in a well ventilated environment. So the workshop we've got here at Wintec is absolutely fine for that. Okay, so I've laid out my pipe and the two fittings we're going to join on a bit of a rag, and the reason I've done that is just this rag will absorb any of those potentially flammable liquids, so it won't be left on our work surface when we finish. So we take our primer and we give it a shake up and we take the lid off. We're going to use this, and we're going to inside of the fitting here, and we're going to apply it to the outside of the pipe. And what you'll notice is on the pipe, if there's any writing or anything like that, you're going to notice it becomes discoloured. So if you have a watch or anything else that's very precious to you, make sure it's not anywhere near that. Now what we're going to do now is wait about approximately 5 minutes just for that primer to completely dry before we glue it. If we don't do that, the primer will have the effect of actually weakening the glue joint, and we could have a leak either now or a bit later on. Okay, so a couple of minutes passed and the pipe and the fittings have dry. We now grab the solvent glue, and once again we give that a shake and we open it up. Now when you open this up, it should be runny like that. If you open it up and it's all stuck together, or sometimes the pot won't actually let the brush come out, you realise that glue is too old and it should be discarded. So we're now going to take the brush and we're going to coat the inside of the fitting on both ends. And we're going to coat both sides of the pipe. Now when you're doing this, it always pays to do the pipe last, because otherwise you'll lie it down on your rag and it will cause you problems. So we're going to push the pipe in this side, and we're going to push it all the way in till it hits a logical end, and we're going to let it bounce back nicely like that. We'll repeat the process on the other side, push the pipe all the way in till it hits a nice end, and we're allowed to bounce back slightly. Now what you should know is around the pipe you should see glue all the way around the edge with no obvious cracks like that, and we can see the same on the other side. Now if I was to apply a lot of pressure to this pipe now, I could actually twist it and damage it. So you really want to lay this pipe away like that, and best practice is to leave it for half an hour before applying any water, or certainly before pressure testing that pipe or fittings. So thanks very much team for joining us here to learn a bit about PVC pipe and solvent glue joining. Please remember, when you're on site, your Wintec tutor is there to help, and will always help you with questions regards health and safety and working together safely in the workshop. Thanks very much, and we'll see you again really soon.